I was listening to the story about, it was a story of a family in Washington, and the little boy called the Bigfoot the Cowboy Man. And he had, apparently it had made an effort to steal this kid. And it hit me. My children were in that playpen behind me with nothing but a mosquito net over them. It could have crept up behind me and taken both of my children, and I wouldn't have known.
Father just got like a Mustang or something from Wyoming, okay? He had it out in the corral because he couldn't put it in the barn in the stalls with the other horses. It would kick and made all the other horses nervous. Had a Seminole Indian working the horse, trying to break it every day. So they had it out in the corral. This skunk ape snuck up behind this horse and grabbed it on its hind quarters. This particular horse kicks out, jumps over the corral, runs into the pasture, to get away. At this point, the rancher's out there just blasted away with the dirty. The skunk ape runs into the swamp.
I went up there one day after that, or 2 days after that. I went up there and sat in the silence up there, and I'm telling you, man, it was free. It was crazy. There was a crazy vibe up there still. I did what I could to kind of get things under control, but I told her, I said, you need to get off this property. I feel like no matter how strong you are, it's almost like standing in the ocean. You can't stand still without moving your feet. You're going to get knocked over eventually, no matter how strong, whatever. You can't withstand a barrage of weird spiritual energy.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Paranormal Odyssey. I am your host, Wayne, joined, as always, by my partner in crime, Miss Tiffany. How you doing, ma'am?
I'm good. How are you? Do you feel older today?
Do I what?
Do you feel older today?
I mean, it seems like just yesterday I was 44.
Dang, man. I'm telling you, time flies when you're having fun. Well, happy birthday to my bestest good buddy.
Thank you to everyone out there that has wished me a happy birthday today. I really appreciate it. I got all kind of things happy birthdays today. I have many thank yous to send out, so I appreciate it, guys. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you got flooded on the PWP Facebook page.
Yeah, they love me.
Yeah, what can I say?
All right, what's going on with you? Did you have a good day today on National Wainer Day?
I sure did. I just sit back and did a whole bunch of nothing to celebrate your day.
Yeah, I mean, schools were out and everything, right? It was a national holiday.
Carrie wishes she were out of school for the day for your birthday.
Well, she should. Well, look at Miss Whitney there. Thank you, ma'am. I don't know about all that, but thank you. All right, let's pay some bills. You want to?
Yeah, it's a great thing to do on your birthday.
Absolutely. All right, everybody, if you have not done so, if you're new to the show, we would appreciate it if you would hit that subscribe button. Tell your friends, tell your family. Help us to continue heading in the right direction. But it starts with hitting that subscribe button, please.
And if you would like to be on the show with Wayne and myself, you can reach out to us, Wayne at paranormalworldproductions.com, or me, Tiffany at Paranormal World Productions. And again, we are booking into April. We so far only have one show booked. So if you want to be on with us, definitely reach out.
I want to ask everybody to head over to paranormalworldproductions.com, check out our website, and at the very top, and I think at the bottom of the website, if you go over there now, you will see our new weekly newsletter that Brian has started over there on our website. It's absolutely free to sign up. All you have to do is enter your name, email address, all that good stuff. He's already sent out a couple, and they're really good. He does a good job with them, not charging anyone anything. If you would like to get that free Bigfoot weekly newsletter, just head over to the website, paranormalworldproductions.com, and we'd be happy to have you.
And if you have any questions for tonight's guest, you guys are all familiar with him, just put them in all capital letters and we'll grab them, highlight them, and ask them towards the end of the show. Just put them all in capital letters so we don't miss them.
Very good, very good. All right, guys, once again, want to ask everybody about becoming a member. We've added several new members over the last week, I think 5 or 6 or so. But we're still not hit the 50 yet. I think we're only like 15 away from hitting that 50 mark. But we will take a name out of those first 50 and hold a drawing, draw a name, and that person will win a Yeti lunchbox, an autographed copy of one of Naomi Finn's books, a Paranormal Odyssey t-shirt, and what else, Tiffany?
Well, when you sign up to become a member, as you all know, I have books that are being released. On the 28th is when they're all going to be shipped out. We're currently still in pre-order for Dogman, Terror in the Woods, and the Unfamiliars. But what I'm going to do to sweeten the pot for everybody who joins and everybody who has joined is I'm going to throw in the signed copy of the Unfamiliars along with everything else that you'll be getting.
Awesome. So that is 4 gifts you will be getting. And all you got to do is pay the $1.99 a month. I mean, that's it. 199 pennies. You get extra content. The members only show that we did last week was phenomenal. Mr. Brian Sharp stopped by, hung out with us for the first 30 minutes or so. We laughed, we cried, we did all of that good stuff. We mainly laughed. It was great. Our members only shows are extremely fun. It's completely different from these shows. It's just a bunch of friends hanging out. We're stupid. We're goofy. We just watch creepy ass videos and react to them. We have every once in a while we'll have some of our members come on and watch with us. Mr. Tiffany's been on. Troy has been on. We're talking about getting some more on to come and hang out. So, guys, if you're able, $1.99 isn't hurting a whole lot of people. If you're able to spend that $1.99, it helps us out so much. You think $1.99 is not a lot, but you get enough people throwing $2 at you, it adds up, and that helps us to keep going in the direction that we're going. Our time, we're dedicating our time, our resources, and the equipment that we have isn't free. The services that we use to put the content out is not free. There's monthly fees for everything, and that comes out of our pocket or what you guys can do to help. And that $1.99 goes a long way. So if you guys can help us by becoming a member, we would love to have you. Tell them how to do that too.
Well, I can walk you through both processes if you want. We just helped Joe Pat sign up not that long ago. So if you have a laptop, you just go youtube.com, search up Paranormal Odyssey. The join button will be right next to the subscribe button. If you are joining from your iPhone or your Android, YouTube doesn't make it easy on any of the creators. So it's not complicated. In the search bar where you type youtube.com, there's 2 A's. Click on the 2 A's and a drop-down screen will pop up and it will say request desktop website. So click on that and that'll completely change your screen, and then you just look us up and that join button should be right there.
Yes. Like you said, YouTube makes everything more difficult than it has to be. I don't know why they are that way. I don't know why you can't just click join from the app like you should be able to do. But I don't know. That's the way you got to do it. And again, if you guys need any help, like Joe Pat reached out to me, needed some help getting it done. I referred him to Tiffany, who walked him through it. And you see, Joe Pat is our newest member. So, yeah, we'll help you guys in any way that we can. You got anything else before we get to our guest? Who do we got tonight? Tiffany, go ahead and tell us.
we have Mr. Roger Williams. And when I was on with Mr. Bobby Dahl, he was actually telling me that he had a very interesting tale to tell. And so I had run across him. He was doing a live on TikTok, and I was like, hey, you should come on our show. And there he is. And I'm so excited he opened up his time to come on with us.
Yeah, very good. Are you ready to bring him on?
Yes, absolutely.
All right, guys. I want to everyone to give a warm welcome to Mr. Roger from Squatch and Holler. Excited to have him. Roger,
How
how's it
y'all
going,
doing?
buddy?
Doing good. Thank y'all. I've been working on my little $20 studio here, and I think this light's a little too bright, but I hope it looks good on y'all's end over there.
Looks
I see a
great.
lot of
Looks great,
people.
man. Sounds great. We appreciate you taking the time to hang out with us.
Hey, I appreciate Tiffany. I've watched a lot of y'all shows. That what I try to do is watch as many as I can. It's hard with a full-time job, but
Yeah.
it kind of it kind of some of the subjects that come up, that and like I told some people before, every story is a major story to me because it may hold a small piece of the puzzle, and it's I started doing this to learn, and I still enjoy watching y'all shows. I think Brian, a funny story with that. The first Bigfoot conference I ever went to was last July, and I ended up on stage and scared to death with Brian, and it kind of got me over the. I guess I was wanting to do a show, but you guys are right. Y'all in the chat. This stuff, it's not free. You have to pay for everything, and we do it. I do it to learn and help people learn. But when you can help these guys out, do it because it's expensive, and I didn't realize it when I got into it. Everything costs money, and I signed up for the newsletter. I think it was yesterday or today. I got the email. I haven't got to read the first one yet, so I'll do that tomorrow at work when I'm supposed to be working. But thank y'all. I'm long-winded. Thank y'all for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Roger, I remember Tiffany telling me that you were one of the people that Brian brought on stage at the Smoky Mountain Conference last year. I was at that conference. I didn't get to hear your encounter because Brian and I are a team. So while he was on stage, I was manning the booth and
I met
handling
you at the booth.
Yeah, I remember that now.
Yeah,
I remember that now. So that's awesome. I'm glad that we're getting the opportunity to have you on because you have some pretty cool stuff to talk about, I've heard.
Well, there's so much, and I've had people say, "Oh, that's entirely too much for somebody." I didn't ask for any of this. Now I do go out in the woods now. I started transitioning from an experiencer, back when I was 14, and all this other stuff happening with nobody to talk to. And then when I did finally get to tell my story and started meeting people, it's like a type of therapy for all of us. We all say the same thing. And so now we've got a few places to go, and I've hunted all my life. So I'm comfortable in the woods. I went out today testing the camera, and I love being out there. But as a youngster in Tennessee, Bigfoot's not on your mind. You may read a book or something with the Loch Ness monster and whatever in school, or we saw the Patty film that wasn't stabilized at the time, but that's out there in Oregon, California, and we hear a lot of people say the same things, but it's true. And being in Tennessee, that was the farthest thing from my mind because I would go hunting from 8 years old on up. I would go out with a $2 flashlight or no flashlight before daylight by myself, come out after dark, walk out, knew my way in and out. Wasn't scared, a little naive, was aware of the animals that could hurt you. But yeah, I got thrown into this one day. Just I was always looking out at the fields and looking for wildlife or whatever. Didn't stay in the house a whole lot, but I was bored that day. And I tell people all the time, if I'd have been just a few minutes earlier or later or whatever, we wouldn't be here talking now. And I was just about to leave, and I noticed some movement. And my dad, he was about 5'8", and so I knew what a 5'8" person, 5'8" tall person looked like up there. And this thing stepped out, and like Larry Porch, he said, I was talking to him one time. He said, you have the Roger 5 seconds before you see a Bigfoot, and then you have him 5 seconds after you see a Bigfoot. And this all happened in about, I've gone over it in my head in the best, about 30 seconds, which is a long time actually. And it stepped out and looked up this hill, but then it turned, not like this. It turned its shoulders and looked at me. And thinking about it over the years, I believe, don't know for sure, that it may have known that I frequented the woods. It had to, if it was in the area. And it didn't seem concerned about me at 14 years old. And I watched it walk up this hill. And it just, from that point, you hear people say, well, the first thing I noticed, but I think it was Matt Pruitt that said, what happens is why people get, it's an amazing experience, because it's not the one thing you notice, it's noticing everything at the same time. And it just blows your mind. Should I run? Should I stay here? What the heck is that? And you're trying to, even the split second that you see it, and you're trying to explain it away already. And then the one thing I can't get across to people, and I've told a lot of these people have heard me say this, we can say 6 foot, 7 foot, 7.5 foot, 9.5 foot. We can say all that. But what we can't get across is the mass that comes along with that. So if you see a human that's 6.5 foot tall, you see one of these things the same size. There's no comparison, and I've seen bear, you're in East Tennessee area. I've run up on bear before, in Gatlinburg at the dumpsters. And when you see a bear, it's a bear. There's no way, the people that say, you sure it wasn't a bear? Or they laugh a little bit. It scares them a little bit to kind of think that this could be true, because they're talking to somebody they've trusted all their life, And when you say no, it definitely wasn't a bear. And well, how do you know? I'm like, oh my God. Well, trust me, you've got these huge shoulders and these arms hanging down, and the way it walked, that was the one thing that impressed me, or was impressed upon me. I didn't know about the rest of it. I didn't know the ratios or all that. We have an estimation from a limb in the 7.5 foot range, give a few inches, give or take, so that's not perfect. But the way this thing walked, I walked up this hill, I don't know how many times. I hated it but it was the shortest route to alfalfa field where there were deer. And so we deer hunted this whole place. And when it started up this hill, the farmer was old, and he didn't bush hog every year. So with the regrowth would come in and it'd be entangled, and knee high. And I would have to step up and over and throw my legs out to the side, getting over and leaning uphill. It was a excruciating walk, especially for a little fat guy like me. And the one thing I took away from it, I was glad I stayed. The walk was, and I hate to say this, but everybody says it, but it's true. It was so smooth. It didn't have as much body lean as you would think it would have. And you know how a walking horse steps up and over, up and over? This was the motion. We can't do that. And it would take me, I don't know, anywhere from 2.5 to 5 minutes to get up through there. 10 seconds, 12 seconds tops. And it wasn't running. It just was walking and taking so big of a stride that it was effortless. And when you say smooth and effortless, and if you think about, I've had time to think about it, a walking horse, when they had the celebration over here in Bedford County, one county over, the World Championship, I guess, and that horse's gait and the whole competition is about the rider's head not moving and staying smooth, right? That's how they judge them. And it took years for that to hit me, the way it was walking, and the head was just it was just as smooth. It went up the incline just like it was on a track, But anyway, that was what threw me into it. I found out later in life that some of the things that happened before that, they weren't Class A sightings, but probably were related. The screams that I used to hear, the first time I ever heard the Ohio Howl, it was on my son's phone. I had no idea that TV show Finding Bigfoot was in existence. I'm cooking supper for him or lunch or something. He's playing this on his phone, and this howl, and I freeze in my tracks. And what was that? I have goosebumps all over. What was that? And he started explaining it's supposed to be a Bigfoot, blah blah blah. And I'm like, play it again. Played it a few times, and I said, I got to talk to you about something. And I heard that thing, half a dozen times. I don't know if it was 5 or 8, but I remember the first time I heard it, it was in that location where the alfalfa field was, which puts it, depending on where it was at, anywhere from 500 to 800 yards from me, where I was standing, and I felt it. I felt the vibrate when it hit me. Never understood that until recently, talking to a sound person about the waves and how they're, it's on the lower end and you would feel the vibration versus something higher pitched. I didn't know all that. But then I started watching. Wait, they're talking about Bigfoot. Okay, so my dad laughed at me before they had something happen, and so that kind of got me started doing the at-home research, couch research with YouTube and all that, and just went from there. But y'all, it's been one of these things where it felt like the right time to get it out, and I guess it was, and I didn't realize how much it would help people. It helped me. It helped me so much that I would, I talk about it to everybody now because I just don't care. I mean, I'm not trying to prove anything to anybody. I don't have to. What's the old thing? I know what I saw. So, and the thing is, there's only so many words you can use, and we do all, a lot of us say the same things, but it's the truth. I mean, I think I say this. I don't know whether I saw a Bigfoot because I'm open-minded or I'm open-minded because I saw a Bigfoot. But as soon as that happened and it started processing, one of the first thoughts is, if this thing is real, what else is real? And then you go from there. And Larry was right. The 5 seconds before I saw one and the 5 seconds after, it's been amazing. But I love hearing people's stories. That's why I watch y'all shows, because it's not that I'm trying to see if they're real. I know they're real. I just like listening to, you'll hear a little detail, and it may remind you of something that happened 30 years ago that you hadn't thought about. So anyway, that's the long version of how I got thrown into it. But that
I got a little distracted. I wanted to ask you how you got your start into it, but that's fine. That's awesome. That's an awesome encounter. So, how long would you say that you've been actively looking into the subject?
Okay, so I'm gonna just guesstimate that I don't know what year that show came on, but it was probably about the 3rd season, and that's when I started just looking into it and watching a lot of the videos, and there's a lot of, we all know there's a lot of fakes out there, so you have to filter through all that and use your judgment. But there are a handful of people that break down the videos and let you make your own decision or whatever, and then a small percentage of those could be maybes, and then there may be one or two that you keep going back to and you can't not watch. Like there's something about this one, about the motion, about even if it's blurry, the mechanics of how the subject's moving or whatever kind of draws you in. But there's only a handful of those that I would, right now, if Wayne came to me and says, I'm interested in Bigfoot, never seen one, never heard one, but I've had some neighbors, where should I go? I got about 5 videos to get get people started on. But out of all the hundreds out there, now I think y'all showed one the other day that was pretty wild, with walking across the clear cut power line, right?
And
Tyler's.
Yeah,
Tyler House video.
And what I do is I'll watch it several times, get away from it, come back to it, and it's amazing. People they're always like, why didn't you pull a camera out or whatever? And, even if you're trying to film a deer, a lot of times you don't have time, if you spooked them or whatever. So that's amazing. But the terrain and, him being that far away, probably allowed him time to get, think about it. So, yeah.
Yeah.
You have to stop me, Wayne.
No, you're fine, man. This is what we're after, man. Like I told you before the show started, the show is yours. We go whatever direction you want to go. It's good stuff, man. I do have one question for you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious about, and all your time out looking and the encounter, the sighting that you talked about. You hear people talking about the smell, and that's probably the only thing in my time in the woods looking for these things that I haven't encountered yet. I think everything else I've pretty much encountered, including possibly a sighting. Have you smelt it? And if so, can you talk about what that smelled like?
Well, not definitive. I can't say, hey, what I smelled was a Bigfoot, but in 2020, we got reintroduced to the subject, scouting a new hunting area. And at that point, I ran up on a broken tree, and I'm thinking, is that one of those markers they talked about? Surely not. And we're being quiet. I have my phone in my pocket, and I pointed it out to my son, and he looked at it and kind of like, why is that tree broken? But there's nothing around that would cause that. So I stepped past it, and as soon as I stepped past it, my phone triggers, nobody's talking. It says, I don't quite understand. And I grab my pocket like, oh my God, we're trying to be quiet. And I'm looking at it, and all this happened at the same time. And there's a rock about a double fist size came through a cedar bush tree, kind of low, and came at us and bounced a few times, hit a few more little rocks. And I'm like, my mind's blown because of this. And my son, I guess I'm not reacting quick enough for him. And he's like, are we just going to ignore the fact we had a rock thrown at us? No, I'm trying to figure out, like, do we run? Do we not run? We're talking kind of low, and I'm not panicking, but almost. And because he was with me for sure was one reason. He's old enough to take care of himself, but he's still my kid. So in that area, we didn't go back to that side of that hill. And so during that hunting season, I'm a little slow sometimes, and I'm sitting in the chairs before daylight, and they got the wind at my back, hit me directly in the back of the head. And all of a sudden I smell this. The only way I can explain it is wet, of course, wet animal, wet dog, but with a little bit of decay in it. And of course it smelled like something dead at first. That's, and I'm thinking this guy's cows, died or whatever. But the thing is, I had that smell for 3-4 seconds, and 10-15 seconds later I realized I don't smell it anymore. So it had to be on the move. So I get on the radio and tell Peyton, hey, head on a swivel. It's still dark. Head on a swivel. Something just moved behind me. But I talked to a guy the other day that's been outdoorsman for all his life. He's in his 60s. You can have coyotes and you can have animals, predators that they'll get into a fresh kill, or maybe they'll come and snack on one that's been dead a while and get that smell on them too. That death smell. And that could have been, coyotes stink, and it could have been something like that. I can't tell you, but tying it to whatever happened, the couple weeks before, it made me nervous. But we've never felt threatened there, so I can't say that I have. I have. We have smelt some strange things in one of our places, but until you see one, and then or no one's there, it screams at you or whatever, and then you smell it. I mean, I can't say for sure.
Yeah.
But that's the only time I can have a maybe.
Well, you made the comment that you smelt it just very briefly,
Right.
and it went away. I mean, that kind of speaks to my thoughts on it. Maybe it's something that they can control, like a defense mechanism, like a skunk. Maybe put it out there, just to get things away. Have you
Right.
given that any thought?
Yeah, I've heard that theory of people talking about it. It makes sense. I mean, what I go to is when we have all these theories, go back to nature and see if certain things are possible in nature. If they're possible in nature, you can't rule it out. And I can't. I'm not going to tell you definitely something if I don't know for sure. But yeah, like with skunks, and people ask me like, "Well, I see you in your videos. You always have a gun with you." I'm not going to. I'm not out there to shoot a Bigfoot at all. Speaking of skunks, I have gotten chased by a skunk years ago. So these animals that have little ones, or a certain time of year, or just some of them are just mean. I don't want to get bit if I don't have, if I can, keep it from
Well,
happening.
and there's other things in the woods other than Bigfoot, right?
Exactly.
You got big
Yeah,
cats and bears and,
exactly. I ran
other
up on a den
humans.
today. You're right. I ran up on a den today. You can hear me in the video. Didn't know it was there. My whole demeanor changes. I get on alert, get my everything ready, and I give it room. Whatever living there, I say it in the video. For me and that animal both, we're going to stay away from that. But I had no idea it was there. Yeah, and I thought I knew a little bit about Bigfoot because I saw one. I had no idea. Not doing this and talking to people, and how I hate to use the word rabbit holes, but there's just so many, and I didn't know what the word woo meant. But we've had strange things happen in the woods. And I tell people all the time, you may hear me talk about something 8 months ago and I have an opinion, but I may have different opinions right now because of what I've experienced, who I've talked to, and things I've learned from researchers. And just because somebody changes their views, that doesn't mean they're a liar. It just means they're fluid with it. You can be closed minded. And I told my son years ago with other things, the second that you think you know everything about a particular subject, that's as good as you're going to get with that. That's as smart as you're ever going to get. And that's okay if you're fine with it. But if you're shutting out all this, I'll talk to anybody, because some of the things I've seen, experienced paranormal wise, I mean, I get to talking sometimes, and in my head, I'm like, Roger, you sound that shit crazy, And I understand it. I understand it as well as anybody. And Scott, I respect that. I do. And here's my thing. Before I go into the woods, people say, well, you shouldn't do that. They know your intent. Well, if they know my intent, we should be good. And I'll say in my head before I go in, we're not here to hurt anybody, hurt you. We're curious, whatever. I've talked to several Native American from Oklahoma. I have Cherokee blood, and it's a respect thing. And as a dad and as a father, having a dog, having a wife, having kids, when we go out in the woods, it's my job to keep them safe. And so if the Bigfoot does know my intent, we should be fine. Because we had one scream at us, maybe in, it was late summer, and me and my son both had guns. Never, whatever it was, stepped out and screamed at us after being out in this field for about 4 or 5 hours with a fire. And he jumped up, and he didn't pull his gun. And I grabbed the flashlight first thing. Well, come later, talking to some really experienced investigators, one of them mimicked what we heard. We couldn't tell him exactly what it was, but he mimicked it, and he said that it was probably a young male juvenile and just being rowdy. And and people say, "You sure it wasn't a cat or a bobcat?" Here's why I can explain it to you guys. If you took somebody and mentally tortured them, because it almost sounded human at first. That's the weird part. But after it went up and drew out for 8 seconds or so, it definitely didn't sound human. But like if you tortured somebody for a week mentally and then tied them to a tree and started sawing their leg off, and everybody, "Oh, that's so horrible." I'm like, yes, exactly. That's what we heard. And we can't explain it. We cannot explain it. It was nothing. My son will tell you he's an animal person. He's helped me in the woods. Like, I'm like, what is that? What's that whistle? Is that a Bigfoot whistle? He's like, I think that's a female mountain lion calling for little ones. I'm like, what? And then pulls up YouTube, and I'm like, I'll be dang. He's right, and so we always try to rule everything out first, right?
Yeah.
Just like acorns falling straight down or whatever, and people start getting jumpy. I'm like, no, that's natural. You can hear it hitting the leaves on the way down. Now, when they start coming at you at this angle and skipping, then you got something going on. But so I know I'm all over the place. I'm sorry, but it's
no, it's fine. You got to rule everything else out. I think you're doing yourself a disservice if you don't. We all know these people that go out and everything that they hear in the woods is a Bigfoot, and that's just not the case. I question anybody that has a sighting or an encounter every single time that they go out. I mean, what is it that's so special about you that every time you go out, these things are making themselves known? I just don't think that it happens. You can't have Bigfoot on the brain, as they say. And to speak to Scott's point earlier, he said he doesn't go into the woods without a gun. I don't either. And like you said,
he went without one?
Well, he doesn't go without a gun.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I misunderstood it. Sorry.
Yeah. He doesn't go into the woods without a gun. And I agree with that, but it's not like you said, Roger. It's never, ever been with the purpose of killing a Bigfoot.
Exactly.
I do believe it's going to take a body before science recognizes this thing as a species. But I'm not going to be the one that brings it in. I'm not ever going to go out there actively looking to kill a Bigfoot. I carry my gun on my hip every time I go out because of other shit that's in the woods.
Exactly.
Not just Bigfoot. There's so many things out there that can kill you. Most of all, people. I mean, I'm more afraid of people, other people, than I am giant hairy apes running around in the woods. And if let me take just a second to thank Mr. Ristle again, just gifted 5 more memberships.
That's cool.
So, 5 more people just got a membership thanks to Ristle. This is the second time that he's done that. Thank you very, very much for that, sir.
I got one from somebody, and I don't know who to thank. It just showed up. So whoever did that for me, thank you.
That was Ristle.
Was it Ristle? Thank you, Ristle.
I hope that you will continue to keep it, Roger. I don't know how that works. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know if Bristol is on the hook now for like a year, or is that just for a month, or I don't really know exactly how that works. But if you were gifted one, I hope that you will continue. A month.
I think so. If
it's 30 days.
Okay.
But yeah, as we were saying, going out there, take a gun with you. I mean, obviously, you need to be safe.
Yeah.
Be gun savvy, know how to operate a firearm if you're going to carry one. That's the most important thing. But I fully agree with and believe that you should protect yourself at all times. There's so many things out there that can not only hurt you but kill you.
Yeah. Yeah. It's you know, and even my dad, he said you carry a gun, and a lot of times you don't have to shoot something to protect yourself. A lot of the animals have really sensitive hearing, so if you just point that muzzle or that that towards them, you don't want to do a warning shot normally, but if it's something you could save animal's life and give a
Yeah.
warning shot and scare them off, that's or throw a rock or whatever. My dad always had a stick, and I said, "What do you got? What do you have a stick for?" And it was his snake stick. He said, if you get a snake, you walk up on it, you can keep it off of you, until you can get away from it. But yeah, I mean, people see the guns, and in the southeast, we just that was something we always have. We're always safe, and even being as safe as possible, accidents can happen. So, um, yeah, that's the main thing. Don't be out there drinking beer and fooling with your guns and all that. Just you don't want anybody to get hurt like that. That's I'm telling you, 53 years old, I'm as safe as they come, and I've almost messed up a couple of times. So, and it just scares me. But you can be focused and safe and still almost mess up. But and Scott, I'm sorry that Scott, I read that wrong. I mean, that comment. I appreciate the comment. I apologize.
Oh no,
But
no, that's fine. That's fine. Let's see, Scott. Go ahead and pull this up here right now. Scott, I would never go with the intentions of killing anything, Bigfoot or otherwise. But if I get attacked, that's different. You are
yeah,
absolutely 100% correct, Scott.
yeah,
Especially if you got family with you.
yeah.
Protect your family at all costs.
Yeah, and I guess I
All
jumped
right,
because I've had
so
that question so many times. That why you have a gun
yeah.
with you? I'm like, what we do?
Talk about Roger, if you don't mind. Talk about some of the other things that you've run across in your time in the woods. Just something that you found interesting that maybe you don't really understand or you question.
Well, we we have two different properties. One we have full access to, and the other one we have limited access to during the hunting season. And um, this northern part that I was just went to today is the terrain's different. It's flatter. It's a old river basin, maybe I guess, 'cause there's hardly any topsoil left. But the river's a couple miles away as a crow flies. But I guess sometime in the centuries past, it got out and washed away dirt and all that. So anyway, we've had experiences with the screams. I've got audio where we on my phone. We got it. There was a 20-minute ordeal with we obviously made something mad. It got to the point where I told my son to clear his mind. He set his rifle down, and I said, we're not here to hurt you. We're just curious. We don't be hurt either. And I felt it, but I asked Peyton. I said, "What are you feeling right now?" He said, "The whole feel of the woods just changed, and we got one more little tree snap after that, and then it was fine." But it went over 20 minutes, and so in this same area, we used to go and put chairs in the back of the truck, sit outside the truck, whatever. But it changed. There's a point last year it changed where I pulled up one time and I was like, I don't feel like we need to get out of the truck because that sixth sense gut feeling. I always try to go with that. And that night it was just me and my wife. She don't know about this stuff. She's heard things with us that she can't explain. She heard a supposed. It was a howl out in Wyoming. It could have been somebody messing with us, but the place was so remote. I don't know. But we were sitting there that night, and so instead of getting out of the truck, we're just sitting there with the windows down. It's dark. There's no lights anywhere. And she said, "What is that?" What? I'm looking low. Like, what? what is she saying? She said, no, up in this tree here, it was about 20 yards away, and it was 10 foot up, about the height of a basketball goal. So, and when people say orbs, I've seen an orb as big as a beach ball before. That's another story. But this was about this long, and it was changing. It was changing just like that, and it wasn't a electric white light like the other one I saw that looked like electricity. This was more of a it was a dull, not amber, but amberish, and it was changing sizes. And I backed up, pulled up, backed up, got all these different angles, and like this is before I started taking pictures of everything and taking video. That wasn't on my mind. This went on for 20 minutes, and it went on so long I just forgot about it, and it's still going on. And she's over there like, I don't know what this is. I said, I don't either, And I didn't know that some people, even Matt Moneymaker came out a couple weeks ago and started talking about orbs and Bigfoot, right? And I'm like, hey, the world's coming to an end. But I never thought, because I've seen him talk, and I picked up on a little bit at the conference in July. He said something to the effect like, let's focus on this hard evidence first. Well, he said first, and then he said, then maybe we can move on. I don't remember exactly what he said, but right then my son said that was odd, and some of the woo people got up and left. They stomped off, and I'm like, did he just say what I think he said? He said, I think he left the crack in the door open, there, and I'm like, I don't know. Well, anyway, and then he comes out and says this. Well, the more people I talk to, and for a while it was like this, like, Wayne, yeah, I tell you my story here, but then backstage, man, I got to tell y'all something happened. I don't understand it. Now it's starting to become more okay to talk about, I guess, because we've heard they call it a metallic sound. We hear a metal gate chain type sound. There are no gates around. We've walked through there, and so I've heard that 3 times. We had a person thought we were BSing and said, well, let's go out there. Well, come on, let's go. We went, shut the truck off, and over here where there's nothing, she heard it and I heard it at the same time. And then now she's wanting to leave. And now we're out here, we're staying now. I don't know what that is, but I've heard a woman laughing twice in the same area. The place that I was at today. Yeah, that was my reaction too, Joe Pat. Go back on X on Twitter and look at his tweets. Go back about 2 weeks, week and a half, 2 weeks. I was shocked, but I was sitting there and heard a woman laughing, and a couple months later, I heard the same laugh in the same spot. Now, there's an old sawmill that was there. There was some old homesteads or whatever, and they were so old. I mean, there's hardly anything left of them. But I'm starting to wonder, with all this stuff that's happened, we haven't seen anything yet. I have a picture that was screenshot, and I've had people look at it. It's definitely pixelation, but it's also, when I saw the screenshot, my son did it. He didn't see this. He was just showing me this tree that fell while I was there with no wind, was up when I walked in. And he was just showing me where it was at. Well, he happened to hit it at the right time. And you can almost see the sun, which is directly behind me, reflecting off of something here, but you can't hardly see it. And I'm like, what is that? And I zoom in, and I'm like, oh, crap. There's 2 eyes, a big nose. And yes, it could be pareidolia, all that. Yeah, absolutely, it could be. But when this was a couple days after the incident we had happen, it was cool enough you could see your breath. He turned around when we had I think now, maybe a mama and the little one, had some people go over the sound for me and said it falls in the range, that low range of no known animal. I started feeling like we were focused too much in front of us. And I said, you need to watch our back. Something doesn't feel right. This feels like a distraction. He turned around. He said, oh, crap. You ain't going to believe this. And he saw a heat wave, he called it. went in front of a dark, like a walnut tree that's a little darker than the rest of them. So it's like heat wave go across, and he didn't know anything about the cloaking stuff then. That was March last year. He knows more now. We've actually gotten to go investigate some places, which is cool. But I didn't know much about it. I think it was Missing 411, the Hunters edition, where the lady talks about seeing the thing in the tree. Of course, we
Yeah.
all watch Predator. That all sounds crazy, y'all. But check this out. When you start seeing this stuff, now, if you're, most people just let it go. I can't let it go. So I've been digging. I'm not that smart of a guy, but here's what I found. There's a thing that we make called metamaterials, and the patterns on these metamaterials, they can change and they reflect light. Well, there's a butterfly that has no pigment in it whatsoever, but the pattern on this butterfly is the exact width of the green light spectrum. So when we see it, it looks green. It's not green. It's just reflecting that light. This metamaterial does the same thing. So what if, this is my little pea brain, what if something can manipulate a pattern that only reflects ultraviolet light? Would it become almost or invisible to us? I don't know the answer to that, but because I found that in nature, then I found out that we're reproducing this from that. I remember coming back from the Bigfoot conference in July. We had me and my son. We're goofy. We're having all kind of funny conversations, you can imagine. But he said something that it struck me as it just floored me. But this is the first time I'd ever heard that. He said, "How would you like to have been the first guy to come back to the group and say, I saw something today. It was on a tree. It looked like a lizard, and it jumped on the ground, and it disappeared for a little bit. And it was on another tree, and it was on a rock, and it was the same color as the rock." And I'm like, I know where he's going, right? He said, "What about an octopus?" He said, "How would you like to be the guy that went back and said, I just grabbed this snake in the water, and it shocked me," before they knew about electricity, right? Supposedly. And then he starts talking about these animals that do these things, and I'm like, well, maybe it's not out of the realm of possibility for some of this to be natural and happen. We don't know. Everything we talk about is speculation unless we've seen it. I can tell you the way this one walked in Tennessee in 1985. That doesn't mean there's the skunk ape in Florida and the different terrain is built the same, right? It doesn't mean the one that walks the mountains all the time. They walk these mountains, they build their muscles a certain way. You get them out on a plane, they may look goofy. Who knows? Yeah. But once you start putting things together, and that's my thing. If I can find it in nature, then it opens up tons of possibilities. And it doesn't sound
right. And it doesn't sound goofy. I mean, octopus have 250 chromatophores. They use those chromatophores to change their texture, to change the way they look. I mean, look at polar bears. Their hair's not white. Their hair is translucent.
Okay, did you just make that word up, Tiffany? Chromatophores?
I think she did.
Chromatophores? No, you can actually Google that. That's a real word. It's just weird. It's just weird hearing a very big, smart word come from my mouth, but I promise it's a word.
Yeah, you just make stuff up. I don't believe it.
I can't even write that down because I don't even know what it started with.
Yeah.
CH.
We are creeping up on the hour. It got here so quick. So I do want to try to run through these questions pretty quick, rapid fire, if you will, Mr. Roger. We will start to do a little bit of those. First one comes from Troy. What area of Tennessee are you from? I think you hit on it, but go ahead and do it again.
I am about 50 miles directly south of Nashville. So they would in Marshall County, and I live on the southern end where the Circle Ridge system, and then so the top end around Chapel Hill area is where it's a little flatter in the Nashville Basin part. So
okay, the very next question was, what county? And you just said Marshall.
Marshall, yes.
Okay. There's 2 we got done. Does Roger believe in woo or just flesh and blood? That comes from Alex.
Well, if you'd have asked me this time last year, I'd have been flesh and blood. Are you crazy? Now, then it got to be 95-5. Then it was 90-10. Now I don't know. I mean, it's
the same answer I have, Roger. I don't. When I started, it was all biological. These are flesh and blood creatures we haven't caught up with yet. But the more people I've talked to that have seen some crazy stuff, I don't know. So it's the same answer for me, man.
Yep, it changes. And if you're trying to learn, it should change.
Yeah, you have to stay open minded. You're doing yourself a huge disservice if you're not being open minded.
Everybody's opinion is based on their encounter.
Yeah.
Okay, and I understand that. I've always been open minded, so I talk to everybody. I don't believe everybody, but the thing is, they may be telling the truth, because the fact that we only see, certain colors in the light spectrum, that leaves a lot of stuff out here. Maybe Tiffany can see over here. We have people that see stuff all the time. They see ghosts or whatever. Maybe that is in another light spectrum, right? I don't know. Who am I? I'm not going to. I can talk about ghosts half the night, Bigfoot, and I saw a UFO go out into space in the clear night sky, and I was like 17. I don't have the right to sit here and tell anybody that they're lying or that they're crazy, because I can sound crazy and I know it, but I'm telling you, what happened. But so
yeah, we were talking before we went live tonight, Roger, that you have experienced some other paranormal stuff, and now I hear that the UFO thing. So we're gonna have you back, buddy, if you don't mind, to talk about some of the other creepy stuff.
Yeah.
But before we finish this one up, we got just a couple more questions for you.
Okay.
Next one comes from Troy, buddy Troy here in Tennessee. What area do you hunt, private or state land?
Well, private. Here I have been to the LBL the week of Thanksgiving. Found a 18-inch track, about 4. I didn't have anything to measure. About 4.5 to 5 inches across at the heel. The toes are the size of marshmallows and about 1.5 inches deep. And I found other tracks also. Was scared to death. My wife was in the truck 100 yards behind me. As soon as I saw some other tracks I hadn't talked about, but I want to talk to some people first. But you can hear me in the video say, "Are there wolves here?" But it didn't look like a regular wolf.
It's funny that you bring that up, because Troy, the same Troy that just asked this question, and I were in the LBL just a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, I remember y'all going. I didn't. Let's see, y'all. I was in listening to one of your shows, and y'all were going. I think I asked a question or two, but I found those tracks in Red Hollow, and I've got pictures on my phone from a trackway found about 3 or 4 years ago that I can't show anybody, but I'm they're out there in a video. But they casted 5 tracks, impressive tracks, in the same place. My idiot self goes walking out there and not knowing, and people say, "You should have casted them. You should have done this." I was worried about getting back to the truck without getting torn to pieces. And when I get back to the truck, the windows are up and the doors are locked. I'm like, "What is going on? Let me in." A rock was thrown from out of the woods towards the truck about the weight of a golf ball, and skipped forward, and she just locked the doors and locked me out there. So I don't know.
Wow.
There's a lot. And then we found tracks in Bankhead National Forest in a remote area. There was a really, really some small tracks that had toes, and that was the first tracks that I found going looking for them. Because I always said I've never found tracks. All those years, I've never found tracks. But a place we investigated is a private farm in Lincoln County. 30, 45 minutes of being there, we went down in the creek, and my son looks at me and points, and I'm like, "Oh no!" And about 5.5, 6 foot apart, there's 4, and it had the
Wow.
curve. And I've learned a lot about the foot actually from a lot of people, and we're looking at these tracks, these plaster casts, and this flexible foot. Everybody talks about it flexes this way. I don't think that's the only way it flexes. I just don't. I've heard too much. I've heard this way going up Sandy Bank. I saw one other night on my show, guy, Mr. Vogel, the Bigfoot. They saw it up on the edge of a hill, and these toes on this side that were been uphill were deeper where it was digging into for traction. So I think the foot flexes many different directions, but that's just me. I'm not an expert.
That's interesting. It's interesting thought. Next question also comes from Troy. Did you get a look at the face of the one that you saw?
No, and it's probably a good thing. The one thing I took, it was about 180 yards. So, and just seeing how big it was crazy actually. But in seeing the walk, and it did look at me, but from that distance, I couldn't make any details out. But it was one color. I tell people it was about the color of a Hershey milk chocolate bar, not the wrapper, but the inside. It wasn't reddish, but it was dark, and that's the thing. At 150, 200 yards, you could see my neckline, you could see my hat line, you could see boots, pants, blue jeans, even if it's camouflage. But this was all one color. So
Okay.
yeah, I kind of maybe glad I didn't. In a way,
All right.
it kept.
Yeah, the Facebook user, I'm not sure who asked this question. Facebook user asks, has Roger ever heard potential Bigfoot whistling?
Oh, well, the one night, that I said I thought we did. That's what we were hearing, and my son, pulled me back in. No, but that's good information to have too. If you got a mountain lion and mama mountain lion and cubs, I'm more scared of that than I am. We got a truck left, but I've heard whistles back in the day. I don't know what it was. I can't tell you. Now I've heard mouth pops, rock clacks, and I've been close enough, I think, to hear the difference between. So if you hear on a recording, you hear a pop, and they said it's a tree knock. Well, a lot of times, it probably is, but if you hear that resonance to it, it's probably a mouth pop where it's resonating back in the sinus and whatever. And I've had really, really experienced investigators tell me to listen for that, and I heard that the other night on I think it was Bob's show. He had a guest on, and I was co-hosting, and he had these different knocks. Well, I heard it. I'm like, wait a minute, and I've heard it myself. They go back to this other one. I don't think you got a tree knock right there. I think that's a mouth pop. And when I explained what we were listening to, it's like, oh crap, And so, now I've heard the rock clacks, and every time you hear something that something would have to have thumbs to make maybe it's something small doing it. But like I said, I haven't seen any, and I haven't seen a Bigfoot whistle at me, but I've heard some very strange, like if the joke's running now, and it's a true joke. It's true when we laugh about the 300 or 400-pound owl sitting on the ground. My son can call them in, and you can hear them coming, changing their location. But then when you have one on the ground, 100 yards away in the woods, and you look at each other and like, what the hell was that? That wasn't an owl, So I don't know. I can't tell you that, that I have. I've heard the whistles back when I was younger.
Yeah.
I wish I'd have known what to look for. I wish I'd have known more about it back then.
Yeah, that's very true. I'm the same way. Wish I had known more about this stuff when I was younger, because I think that I possibly could have experienced some stuff when I was younger, but I just didn't know. Again, before we get out of here, I want to thank Ristel for gifting the 5 memberships. I hope the people that he gifted will take advantage of those and continue them. Also, Mr. Scott Trent became a member himself tonight. Thank you very much, sir. We appreciate that. That should everybody tonight should put us up around 40 members. So we're 10 away from doing that drawing. So y'all tell
Getting
people,
there.
get some people in here. All right, Roger, take a second, buddy, or a few minutes, and tell everybody where they can find you and promote anything that you would like.
Well, my channel is Squatch and Holler. It's at capital R DODGER 1971. I had a thing here, but just go over to the YouTube channel, and like I tell people, I take the subject seriously, but we like to have fun. And if it's not for you, unsubscribe. But it's free. I understand. And what I'd like to do is I like to layer my guests. When I started, I wanted to try to bridge the gap between the heavy woo and the flesh and blood, and it's worked to some point. I've had people that were 100% flesh and blood see people talk about things that they never dreamed they would talk about, and it's kind of starting to, well, maybe there's a possibility. But just come over and subscribe, and if you don't like it, leave, and we'll watch another show together somewhere. So
Very cool.
There's enough room for everybody. I love the community. I've had some trolls and stuff, but what's funny is me and some of my friends that have shows, we don't care. They don't hinder us a bit. It's when that happens, I feel like they're the uneducated ones. So I'm just like, yeah, that's cool. Because I might have done that. If I never had seen a Bigfoot, I might be a troll right now. Who knows?
Naoma Fan just subscribed to your channel, buddy, and I think you'll probably get a couple more.
Thank you.
All right, Roger, I appreciate you taking the time to come and hang out. And directly after this show, you've been talking to Tiffany. Y'all get with her and set something up for April to come back and talk about some of your spooky ghost paranormal stuff that you've experienced.
That's the stuff that scares me.
I get it.
And yeah, I will.
I get it, man. I
definitely will.
All the time. I go out in the woods all the time looking for Bigfoot, but one thing that has kept me from going out looking for ghosts is I don't want one of them sons of bitches to latch on to me, bring it home with me, and give it to my kids.
Right.
I don't want no part of that mess.
Yep. Don't get us started. I mean, and that stuff's real too. And I don't know why I've been shown things I have in my life, but at this point in my life, I think I have been shown in certain times when I was ready, and I don't know where it's headed. I'm just along for the ride. So,
yeah. All right, Roger. Good stuff, buddy. I appreciate you coming on, hanging out. You enjoy the rest of your evening, okay?
All right. Thank y'all. Appreciate
Thanks,
you.
friend.
Bye-bye. Thanks, everybody in chat. Bye-bye.
Good stuff. Good stuff. I didn't get a chance to mention the poll question tonight has been up for the entire episode, and I would have liked to have gotten Roger's opinion on this. But the poll question tonight was, do Bigfoot live in caves? 28 people voted. Overwhelmingly, 89% say yes. 11% say no. I'm a believer that they use the cave systems. I don't know if they necessarily live in caves, but I do think that they use them from time to time.
I think they use them for shelter, like rain and stuff like that. But I don't know about living.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Happy birthday to Wayne.
Happy birthday to Wayne. For he's a jolly good fellow.
Only got a few hours left for my birthday. I got to milk it as much as I can.
Milk it.
I'm a kid.
Yep. Hey, I love birthdays.
Yeah, birthdays are cool. I've always loved I've always loved having a February birthday. I love my birthday. I really do.
Yeah, birthdays are my favorite. I love them.
I clicked the wrong one. Naomi, thank you very much, ma'am. You got anything before we get out of here, ma'am?
Yes, sir, I do. My books are on pre-order. Go to hangar1publishing.com. The one is an actual number 1. Dogman, Terror in the Woods, and the Unfamiliars. They are currently $17.99. They are going to be shipped out. So the ones that have already been pre-ordered will be shipped out February the 28th. And after that date, they will go up to $23.99. So save $6. You can go to hangaronepublishing.com now and save money. Please, please, please.
Do that. You know how much work she puts into these books? Y'all help her out. Throw her a few dollars. Order
I'd
your
appreciate
books.
it.
We would greatly appreciate it.
Yes.
All right. Say your goodbyes, ma'am, so we may get out of here.
Goodbye. Thank you for coming. Scott, again, thank you for joining our family, and Rystal for gifting those memberships. We appreciate you guys so much. Love you.
I will echo what she just said. Thank you guys so very much. Scott, Rystal, you guys are awesome. Thank you for everything that you do. Everyone, all the members and everyone that watches, thank you for all the continued support. Until we see you guys again, y'all be good to yourselves. Be good to each other.